Hey everybody, we're live. The first thing I'd like to say this, I guess I have to say this month, not this week, is blame Uber because that's why I'm late. Less late than anticipated. So also blame Uber because the way they track trip times is wrong. Um, so there you go. Blame Uber. Uh, uh, I guess still kind of my fault, but anyway, I'd still rather blame Uber. So here we are. This is an AMA. My name is Kevin Murcko. If you don't know where you are, this is an Ask Me Anything 1 hour session. Well, slightly less than 1 hour maybe today. And you asked me a question, I answered. That's pretty much it. Now, there's already a good amount of questions. I am early, so hopefully people will make their way in as they realize that I came on early. But since I was already late, it's not really early, if that makes sense. So here we go. We're going to jump right into the first question. Jen's actually sent me a message on Telegram saying he wasn't going to be here for the first time in a long time. So let's make sure we give some good answers to his questions. Hi, Kevin. Market making on XCM looks really good. How much of the volume is cannibalized by the market maker itself? And are you happy with the cost of market making? Guess MM is used as exit liquidity too. So in terms of cannibalized, none of it's cannibalized. So the market maker is not trading with itself. Though we do have more than one market maker, and some of the volume does go between market makers. Though you can consider there's actually more than two market makers. You can consider only one of those market makers is in, let's say, contracted by Coinmetro. The others are essentially clients. So in that respect, I would say it's not really cannibalization at all, meaning they're not, we don't have two people we're paying for a service that are basically matching against one another. But in terms of non-market making, I would say it's been going up over the past days, and today I think we'll probably see a record that since the market making started. But I would give an estimation of initially it was about 60-40, and now meaning 60%, let's say, market makers. Now I would say we're getting close to flipping that around. In fact, we may have even surpassed it. We might be getting close to 30-70, meaning 30% market making, 70% not. But that's not an exact number, but it's going to be within that ballpark. And as far as the costs go, yes, I think I'm happy. As we grow, that cost is going to remain capped for us. And yes, it does provide quote unquote exit liquidity or liquidity in general. Any liquidity can be exit liquidity, but it still means that when you're a buyer, there's going to be a seller, and when you're a seller, there's going to be a buyer, which is a good thing. Another question from Jen's: new app and onboarding must be part of tech debt. In many ways, yes. What can we expect? When can we expect new functionalities, revamp Mars, new tram, DCA? Those will feel as steps forward and not correcting the past. So I think it's all steps forward. Look, every company has tech debt. We let ours go a little bit further than maybe we would have liked. But even, new app is still, I think, moving forward. And getting rid of a lot of that tech debt will show pieces of even our existing infrastructure that were actually made, let's say, well, but limited by some of that tech debt. So revamp Mars, new tram, which would actually be new social trading, which is spot instead of on margin. DCA, so DCA will be relatively quick after launch. Mars, I'm thinking will still happen within this year. When it comes to social trading, that remains to be seen. We're going to have some meetings on that over the next couple of weeks where we fine tune again the roadmap. And I'll have more information for you guys on that on our next AMA, or if you just tag me on Telegram. But the going back towards kind of a scrum and a way of working, meaning we'll have 2-week sprints. So every 2 weeks, there's something, maybe not new is the wrong word, but there is progress every 2 weeks. It'll be much easier for me to tell you when exactly we expect new features. Getting the new app out will automatically move us to the main priority being the removal of tech debt in its entirety, which is a big project because it encompasses some of the biggest pieces of our ecosystem. Once that is done, the focus will be all on new stuff. But in that time frame, we are hiring and have hired and will be hiring more developers so that we can split between maintenance, let's say this very big project, and then other smaller new projects. Any progress on USD? So there has been some progress, yes. USD Swift, we should see over the coming weeks launching. It's not ACH, but it'll be USD that can be funded from pretty much anywhere in the world using Swift and at a very decent price. ACH is still in the works, mainly because, as I've said in the past, there's different things that need to be added to our ecosystem to make it work, seeing as all the providers we've talked to, I believe all of them, all ask for the same type of flow, which induces a little bit more tech that's needed to get it done than we currently have. But we've made progress on all those fronts. I still want to see USD ACH online before the end of the year, which would really mean before the first half of December, because once you get too deep in December, the year is pretty much over with anyway. But I'll have more clarity on that over the next 30 days as well. Well, less than 30 days, but definitely in the next AMA, there'll be some clarity. But you can also tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko, and make sure that's Kevin Murcko, not Kelvin or Kevin, or, be careful out there. Speaking of that, I actually had somebody send me a message and said, bro, what happened? We were talking so much and you stopped sending messages to me. And I was like, I have no idea who this guy is. And apparently for a year, he was talking to a fake Kevin, a whole year. I don't know, man, that's dedication. The wrong kind of dedication, but still, for some odd reason, you got to tip your hat to that. Anyway, so we are moving on it, and it's still a priority for us. There are pieces of it that we've been waiting, both from the legal side and compliance side, and I think most of those are now, we're through that, so we've broken through that. Now we're still trying to figure out when we can implement pieces on the tech side that are required to make this work. Did you buy any XCM yet that you said you would, 700,000? No, actually waiting for a specific. I have bought a little bit of XCM, but not near that amount yet. I'm waiting for a transaction kind of in my personal life to clear up. And I've been told for 4 months it was, imminent. So it's still imminent, apparently. But as soon as it does, yeah. And I will absolutely let you guys know once I do that. Not beforehand, but I'll let you know once it's done. So that was, I guess. So we didn't start with that much delay. So it was about half that delay. So that's good. Does it look like we're getting a repeat of the 4-year cycle? Also bullish for China's stimulus plan, maybe a U-turn on the ban on crypto. So, Mr. Ray, as I said before, I do expect this. We will see something similar to the 4-year cycles we've seen in the past. Why do I say something similar? Well, there are a few things that have happened over the last 4 years that the market had been waiting on, that turned out to be maybe less bullish than the market thought they would, but changes the game a bit in terms of how the previous cycles have looked. So to kind of put it in the smallest nutshell possible, the way previous four-year cycles looked was money flowing into Bitcoin, usually in Q4. So here we go. Normally during the month of October, November. So here we go. Doesn't necessarily mean new highs were reached, but new money flowing into Q1, then profit taking happening between Q1, Q2, and Q3, and then a major push of that profits and also new money into altcoins. Now, that doesn't mean it just starts at this time, because it had already started. Basically, October is kind of great for the market entirely, but it's notably good for Bitcoin. Q1 of that prevailing first year of the cycle, normally good for alts and Bitcoin. Then you see Q2 and Q3, a bit of a lull, profit taking. And then Q4, most of that money you see, normally you'll see Bitcoin all-time highs as well, but you'll see a lot of that profit and new money flowing into alts into Q1 of the next year. So that would lead us into 2026 Q1, where you see maximum capitulation, new highs all across the board, and then major profit taking leading to fear as prices start to fall, leading to capitulation, and then bear market. Now, what's difference? There was a difference this time around. Well, there's a lot of money that has flown, and will fly into Bitcoin from ETFs and ETH now as well. And when those profits are taken, which they will be, and they probably will be taken quicker. Why? Because, well, let's just call them normies, or normal investors that aren't necessarily crypto savvy or haven't been through some of the brutality in the crypto markets, or let's just say illiquid and volatile markets in general. When they're up 10, 20%, 30%, they're taking profits, probably 40, 50%. They're taking profits. They're not necessarily sitting and waiting, well, I'm going to degen into this and it's going to go up 10,000%, so I'm going to wait. And so, but those profits that get pulled from the market probably aren't going to flow directly into altcoins for more profit. Why? Because they're going to end up in a brokerage account or a bank account because they're coming off an ETF. So does that mean we won't see an alt season? I don't think so. I do think we're going to see a very similar cycle to what we've seen the last, is it 4 cycles now? Yeah. Now, this is the 4th, I guess. No, this will be the 5th cycle, right? 5th 4-year cycle, I guess. If it depends on when we started. Did we start bull or did we start bear? I don't remember. I don't feel like thinking about that right now. Point is, I think we're on the 5th cycle. So, I think it's going to be similar, though I think it might be the last that is so similar. As we start to see more institutional access into Bitcoin, Bitcoin will become less volatile. That volatility will lead to normies and crypto people. Generally, I don't see Bitcoin people, but crypto people. Major distinction there. Will be looking for other opportunities to see, 5x, 10x, 20x on their money. That may actually lead to at least a cycle or two, maybe not 4-year, but a cycle or two of just alt cycles where Bitcoin is, still doing all right, but left out of the cycle. Could also lead to a completely different cycle entirely for crypto. But I do think this will be the last similar cycle. In terms of China, well, anytime that the doors open officially in China, or there's less of a kind of a negativity from China. China's a big populace. And Asians in general like to gamble. They are very much so when you look at statistics. Asians like to take risk, I guess is a better way to put it. They're bigger risk takers. They're willing to take that risk if there is a potential for gain. So they're still in the market, but anything that happens that would allow them to be officially in the market is definitely going to, make things overall different, if that makes sense. And that's going to be good for the market. So we'll see. If that has a major impact this cycle, I don't know, but it will have an impact long term, absolutely, if those cap flows are less restricted. Is it true that you are selling XCM? Depends on how you ask the question. I have, over the years, done usually 1, sometimes 2 OTC transactions throughout the year. And the reason for that is not because I don't believe in XCM. It's because I don't really make a salary here. And especially when I'm traveling a lot, except for my expenses can become quite inflated. And I just need a way to not constantly have to be dipping in to just investments broadly. Not that I want to dip into XCM. And I have sold other stuff I own over this last 7 years as well, in crypto and outside of crypto. So I have sold some XCM. Sure, I have. Almost never in the book. In fact, I don't really recall ever selling in the book unless it was just to test. Meaning testing out different things that we've built in order to balance books, which we no longer use because now we have market makers. So, hi, your mother? I don't know, my mother, I guess. I don't know if your mother means my mother or it's actually your mother. I don't know. Why did NASA destroy the technology to go to the moon in 1972? And it's a painful process to build it back again, even though they're stealing $32 billion a year from taxpayers. Wow. I don't know how much I should delve down this rabbit hole. Yeah. I don't know. Getting to the moon's probably pretty difficult. And NASA definitely didn't do it in any optimized way. What do they say that it costs, according to today's dollars, hundreds of millions to build one spacesuit. And SpaceX and Blue Horizon have basically done that for a fraction of the cost. Well, that just goes to show you that privatization is usually the way to go. And when the government controls spending on anything, they spend too much. But I guess I'll leave it there. This isn't really a show for talking about NASA. Cool question, though, I guess. About market making. Is it higher than 1,000 per 24-hour API limit for more order markets? So this is a general kind of dig at us limiting some of the unlimitedness that we had on our API. So part of that tech debt is redoing the API and making it more optimal, and also providing limits to people basically based on their usage. We had people that were sending API calls to basically ask for price, etc., price checks, etc. That was costing us dozens of thousands of euros, and we made about 200 euros a month on those accounts. So it's a process, and yes, market makers do have different sets of limitations because market makers aren't necessarily overburdening the system for the benefit that we receive as a company. What is the Great Wall of China facing the wrong side if it's supposedly built to keep invaders out? Uh, I have no idea what that question really means. I mean, a wall has two sides, and you could debate what is the front, what is the back. I'd love to see the debate on that one. Um, Maybe they wanted to keep the Chinese in. I don't know. What are the plans to enhance liquidity? When will we meet the new head of liquidity? Um, so, what are the plans to enhance liquidity? Right now, I would say that okay, volumes are definitely up, so that's good. Liquidity is not definitely not the same as volume, and people always get that wrong. But the more volume we have, the more liquidity that we're priced. I've said this before, but I'll give this analogy again. If you've probably had a credit card in your life, or if you haven't, you know somebody who has, or maybe you haven't. So here's a lesson on how credit cards work. Credit cards will give you a limit based on what they feel is your credit worthiness and also how much you're actually going to use. You could have the best credit in the world, but if you're not using credit, they're not going to give you a high limit. Why? Because they only have a certain limit they can give to everybody, right? They say, well, we're willing to give out, I don't know, 1 billion in credit this quarter. They're not going to give you 100,000 if you're only spending 1,000 a month because it's not being used, which means there's interest they're not making on money they could be lending to somebody else. Market making is credit in many ways. Liquidity provision is credit in many ways, especially liquidity provision, not so much market making, but still. And so you're not going to get credit if you don't use it. And so when there's not a lot of volume, liquidity providers will pull back credit amounts. As volume flows in, credit gets larger. So we are already solving that problem. And as we get into the bull market and volume continues to grow, you will be seeing quote unquote more liquidity or available credit inside the book from those providers that we work with. So odd, yeah. Well, we have some probably good news coming down in the next couple weeks, if not month. First, it's going to look like bad news. Australian dollar deposits via SWIFT will be shut down, but we will be getting online with another provider that provides localized odd deposits for significantly lower fees. At that point, we will see the uptick, if we see an uptick, hopefully we will, in odd deposits. Based on that, we can look to provide odd pairings, at least on certain assets. Maybe not across the board, but on certain assets for sure. Hey, Kevin, what are some of your favorite novels authors? Whew. You know, when I was a kid, when I say kid, maybe up till early adulthood, I was a consummate reader. I read a lot. And then I, got in the business world, and I mean, I thought I was in the business world. I had a business. I don't know if I was really in the business world, but anyway, as I started to kind of grow through entrepreneurship and doing other things, I had less time to read. And so I read not based out of want or based out of kind of relaxation because I wanted to. I read because I had to. And that's a whole different type of reading. So it's a hard question for me to answer because a lot of the favorites I had and still have and remember are more for kind of kids or younger readers. I don't know if I haven't really read any business books. I know a lot of people recommend business books to me. I've never read them, not because I think I know what's in there, because that's definitely not the case. Just can't really find the time. And like I said, I read out of necessity now, which is a shame, to be honest, because reading is amazing and everybody should be doing, and not just out of necessity. So I can't really give a good answer on this one, unfortunately. I would say though that a lot of the books I did read I did read fiction. I read a decent amount of nonfiction. I like history. But I also like reading not really textbooks, but kind of almost things that are related, like textbooks, like just about things that I wanted to know about psychology, for example. I used to write. I read a lot about Jung and Freud because that stuff interests me. Anyway, human beings tend to interest me because we're just weird. I don't know. What is the retention on a technical team? Do you struggle building exchange due to lack of tape? There definitely over time has been retention issues, and a lot of that has to do with tech debt, right? Imagine you come to a company like Coinmetro because you have an interview, talk about all the stuff we want to do, all the stuff we're trying to do. It sounds interesting. You want to break into crypto. And then you find out that you also got to deal with some tech debt. And then they show you what that tech debt looks like. And you're like, oh, man, I don't want to deal with this. And so we've actually been talking about this quite recently. So overall, in 7 years, retention is probably on par with most other teams in the business, but also just in general across the board when it comes to tech teams in other businesses. But recently we have seen, 2 or 3 people leave. That was a bit abrupt, all to do with tech debt for the most part. And so we've been having meetings recently about revamping how we approach these things and what the process looks like, mainly getting new, really cool people on the team and having them not even look at the tech debt, and having people maybe outsourced, for example, that are only tasked on tech debt. We don't care if they don't like it, right? Because the outsourcing company can always throw somebody else at it. If put somebody 2 months on it, another person 2 months. They don't really need to be so much integrated in the team, and the new people can work on new, really cool stuff, which will help us push new stuff out faster and also not overburden the team. So yeah, those type of things, and not just in tech, across the board, we've had at some point during our history some type of struggle, whether it was on the business side, the marketing side, the product side, the tech side, compliance. We've had different forms of struggles across the board for different reasons. But I guess you could almost say tech debt of course, you're not tech debt and compliance, you're not tech debt and marketing. But you can have debt in the form of old processes. Somebody put something together that just didn't work, and then someone else, you're kind of asking them maybe to follow the same rules, or reinvent the wheel or whatever, or bring in some processes, and that stuff is not new stuff. It could be boring to some people. So there is an element of that, or has been an element of that. It doesn't really exist anymore in the company, except for this tech debt. This is the one kind of, I think, last big hurdle the company needs to get over in order to really start to, kind of reach for the stars. Your mother, this guy. Okay. Do you believe religious artifacts hold any spiritual power? Why are they so sought after by the elite? I guess if I was part of the elite, I'd have a different answer for this question. But again, not to put so much time on this, because to be honest with your mother, or my mother, I don't know, still. I'd love to have a podcast where I probably have to not be me, because I might say some shit there that it would lead me into hot water in other parts of my life. But I would love to do it, and I'd love to tackle questions like this. So if I ever do it, I'm definitely going to let you know about it. You'd have to change your name. You could call yourself their mother or something, just so no one knew. Yeah, I think when you have power and money and enough of it where you don't care about either, you're kind of just playing out all the bets, right? Like, if this is real, I want all of it. If Bitcoin's going to succeed, I want all of it. Because you can, right? Because you can just throw money all over the place. And one of those things is probably going to be right, statistically speaking. And if more than one are right, that's like 1,000x. So the big new Mars parallel to the bull market starting Q4 will not happen. Not saying that. Bull markets are if you've ever done technical trading, you need to get some evidence of that trade going your way. And then usually you want to see confirmation. So Q4 is the evidence. Q1 is the confirmation. Right now, having said that, our goal is to get Mars out as soon as possible. But there are things we absolutely want to do first because they are business priorities. And, as has happened many times here, sometimes planning looks great, and then reality punches you in the face. We're getting better at dealing with reality punching us in the face. We should, considering how many times it's happened. And so I don't think it's not out of the question that Mars happens right at the best time possible for Mars to happen. Are you looking into selling CM anytime soon? I'm not looking into selling anytime soon or anytime in the future. That doesn't mean that won't happen. I guess at the end of the day, what I want from Coinmetro is for it to achieve its goals. I want it to be different from everyone else. I want it to be a place that people feel safe. I want it to be a place that's transparent. I want it to be a place where, we continue to give access to people that need that access, and we do it in a way that doesn't become completely traditional finance. And to that end, if the best way to get there at some point is for me to step down, do something else, for someone else to come in, and/or for us to potentially sell the company, then that's what we're going to do. Do I have plans for that? No. Have we had conversations in that light? Sure. I had conversations during last bull run. I've had conversations with the bear market, and I just recently had some conversations of something similar. Conversation doesn't mean much, but all I'm saying is that I'm not, me personally, and I think the business in general is not against moving outside the comfort zone to make this thing work. What are some of your favorite films? That's an easier one to answer, only because I watch movies more than I read books nowadays. Though I still don't watch as much movies as maybe I would like. It does help you kind of get out from your bubble. The problem is I've probably watched so many different things over the past 6 to 12 months. It's hard. What I will tell you is I like comedy. I guess you call it dark. They call it dark comedy nowadays. I just call it comedy. I don't know. I like comedy that hurts, that you go, oh, before you laugh, or sometimes after you laugh. I can't stand the world that some people apparently want to live in, where you can't make fun of certain things. I think everything is open to make fun of. Everything. It doesn't matter what it is. The more it stings, the more it can be funny. And I would hate to live in a world where people get upset because of laughter, and because those things just bring us together. People think that differences bring us apart. In fact, it's what brings us together. But when you can't talk about those differences, it's a problem. So any movie out there that probably, from the 80s, from the 90s, from the 70s, even some from the 2000s, and some that are relatively recent, that get flack for stepping over a line when it comes to comedy specifically, I probably like that movie, to be honest. I also like a bit of drama, criminal shows and things like that. I tend to like. Why? Because I'm a pretty analytical person. So those things, I always, 20 minutes in, I'm like, this guy did it, and I like to be right. So I guess that's also something I like. Is your mic on screen even plugged in? It is, for sure. I've been using it all day. Now, is it selected? That's a question. But I also, if I get this close to it, you're probably going to see a difference versus me, doing the Kevin thing and moving around all over the place. Let's see if it's, you know what? It's not. All right, let's see. Probably not it. Oh, this might be it. This is definitely it. Okay, so you're right. It wasn't. It was going to the microphone. So the mic up here. The room is soundproof, so hopefully it wasn't that bad. You are the first person to mention it. So it should be much better now, 30 minutes in. Sorry about that. That's my bad. What happened to Credo exactly? Been out of the loop and not completely clear what happened. Well, high level, Credo changed name and also changed ownership, I think. But some of the main people are still there. I guess that, in a nutshell, is what happened. How come you've only had 2 world wars, your mother, throughout our gorillion years of history, and they both happen to be within the last 100 years? Humans, modern humans. That's it. There's not much of an explanation to that. First of all, how could you have a world war when people didn't even know that there was a world? If you're living in the Amazonian jungle, even now, you might not know there's a world. But if you're living in the Amazonian jungle, or you were Native American on the plains, or you were some type of native living anywhere, you had wars. You probably considered them a world war, but it was you and your neighbor, because you thought that's where the world ended. So 1 is the fact that we know other people exist. 2 is probably at least maybe not the world wars, but many wars, our modern religion. And then to that point, power corrupts. And as we've come together as a world, there's been centralization of power, and power corrupts human beings. Power and money, power, whatever, you can mix them both into the same basket. And as this world has gotten bigger and there's been more power to grab and more connected, more war. Easy one. That was an easy one. Any thoughts in regards to the global liquidity index expected to peak in Q3 next year? Well, Q3. So when you think about crypto cycles, most people think crypto cycles were just, in crypto, but crypto cycles mirror a lot of things that happen. 4-year cycles, election years. and even the kind of 2-year bear, 2-year bull election cycle. Now, election cycles create lots of different cycles when it comes to markets. Global liquidity index, well, the peak in Q3, I'm not sure that's going to be entirely accurate, but I think it's close. As I said, with crypto, you're going to see probably Q1 that's going to be bullish. Q2 and Q3 are going to be a bit handoffish, but Q3 into Q4, again, you probably will see bullish tendencies. Now, the crypto markets in most cases tend to lag other markets, right? And so that probably will change at some point in the future, but that would make sense as well. If we see a kind of spike in global liquidity around Q3, then seeing a Q4, Q1, where crypto tends to do well into capitulation makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. That also could mean that you see profits coming off of that liquidity in Q3 flowing into, let's say, I don't even want to say alternative at this point. Well, I mean, if you're putting money into certain assets, it's still alternative in crypto, but Bitcoin, et cetera, not so alternative anymore. Still considered that probably though. But at the end of the day, it makes sense. We may see offlows or outflows from other markets as they do well. And that may actually flow into crypto, especially into the majors. Hey, Kevin, have you checked out the new Lambo car dealer that opened a few weeks ago? Haven't. Where? I mean, in Estonia? I don't know. I'm not a Lambo guy, man. I don't really care about cars, to be very honest. And I wouldn't buy a Lambo. I don't know. For what? I don't know. Use support or use to the Polygon chain and a couple coins, but not Matic. Why not? And when will you? We do support Matic. You mean on their chain? Okay. Well, with the Paul coin coming out here soon, I believe, in the past we haven't supported a lot of chains, and that was somewhat tied to tech debt. Others tied just to not having enough requests to support it. Also, at some point in the past, our custodial provider and our own wallets just simply didn't support it either. So it just made it, or didn't support it broadly enough for it to make business sense. That's changed, and I think it'll change here as well. Hi, Kevin. In your opinion, what do you feel will bring the biggest influx of clients, traders to Coinmetro? Something new that you're releasing, marketing, bull run? Okay, so step one is that regardless, you may not see this effect so much in a bigger exchange or a bigger company, but it definitely is there. Correlation to Bitcoin price, meaning correlation to market sentiment. Market sentiment is good. Everybody's happy. More money's flowing into the market. So definitely a bull run. Or market, it doesn't necessarily need to be a bull run, but market sentiment switching definitely helps for sure. Marketing, absolutely. Without a doubt. And I would say advertising, because we do marketing. Marketing is us sending you emails, is us going on Twitter and da-da-da-da. Spending money is more advertising than marketing. And so advertising absolutely will make a difference. In fact, if we did nothing and kept the product as is, even though it's not where we want it to be, we would be many X's larger. The problem is it's a chicken and egg problem again, like many are in life. If you have a runway, do you limit your runway by a big extent to take a gamble as to market sentiment switching and the marketing functioning and doing so quickly without a lot of tests? Or do you try and build something that you feel will do even better on less marketing or less advertising? So something that we released, I think we already have a lot of secret sauce or special sauce that others don't have. A lot of that comes from the experience people have. Yep, some people don't have the best experience with Coinmetro, just like they don't with any company, but the vast majority of users here have a great experience. And when I say experience, that could be you being able to ask a question here and me answering it. That could be you going to Telegram and getting help by even another community member. That could be you being able to move fiat on and off. And of course, right now, this is Europe and generally UK in general, or I should say pounds and euros, not necessarily a geographic location. Better than pretty much anywhere else, with actually less questions and less burden and less fees. And while our app isn't where everybody wants it to be, there are still people that love to use the app. And so for their purposes, it works fine. And there's many other people out there that would fall into that category. And so, I think we've always kind of focused on one thing, haven't been able to focus on something else. Our timing sometimes wasn't right. Lots of things have happened in the past that if I could go back, I would change. But what that does mean is that we've learned from those experiences. And while sometimes you may not feel that because you don't see it, I see it, I feel it, and you eventually will as well. I think all those things. So releasing things, yeah, trying to be different, releasing some things that maybe others aren't doing definitely has an impact. But also just being really great at one thing, like, Coinmetro, their app is pretty much like everybody else. Their community, I'm not really in there. But when I have an issue, I contact them, I talk to a real person, and they solve it. 9 times out of 10, within minutes, I'm good to go. Only just that is enough for us to gain significantly more market share when people know we exist. Thank you for that, Outlaw. True, had a hard drop from 11 to 6 because of no usage. Credit cards. Yeah. In terms of Runway, how many months of operation it is currently buying CN? Okay. So I haven't gotten the most recent report, but as of roughly 1 month ago, now we hold still some of our treasury in crypto. As I mentioned last time, we had some of the systems that show us how much assets we actually have staked along with client assets on one specific asset, but actually a couple, was not accurate. We knew it wasn't accurate. We had an estimate, but we didn't include that in the Runway because it was an estimate. Now, then we got the real figures, and we found out that we had a little bit more money than we thought we did. Having said that, we've also, because we hold assets in crypto, at least some assets in crypto prices going up extends our runway because our expenses aren't in crypto, they're in euro. I would put us right now, conservatively speaking, around 6 months, probably on the tail end, high 5, middle 6 months. But considering that we won't liquidate that crypto until probably end of Q4 into Q1, theoretically, we could have 7, 8, we could even have 9, 10, 11. It really depends on the amount of the change in crypto prices, I guess is the best way I can put it. Now, we obviously have trigger points where we'll sell. Minimum we would have is about 5 months if those prices fell below our threshold where we would need to liquidate. I have started to have more conversation with investors as well, as predicted. Have one actually right after this AMA and have another one tomorrow night. Putting together a few deals on paper, at least at this point, to see about some equity. And so I do feel that we will have some incoming funds as well. We'll be able to extend that runway. Crypto prices should do well over Q4, which will extend that runway. And I expect profitability in terms of revenue to increase substantially from where it was over the past few months in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So I expect to see that number increase and not decrease over the next few months. So I just answered that as well. And definitely next month, you're gonna get a lot more out of me at a fundraising, because I've had, since the start of September was a bit slow. So the first week or two was a bit slow, but in the last 2 weeks, I've had about 4 or 5 conversations in terms of fundraising. And I expect to have that many per week coming up as we get into October or more. What's up with the 3-die fiat pairs? Seem redundant since we have USDC. Yeah, there's going to be a cleanup across pairs. We're going to reduce the amount of pairs. We're going to increase stablecoin pairs, and we're going to. So that's all happening over the next few weeks. So you'll notice things that make sense, I guess, in the coming days and weeks. No, nothing for me on DNA. I had one bit of interaction over the last months with them, and that was just to try and make sure that the new CEO was updating to a certain extent because people were getting upset. Other than that, nothing, unfortunately. Hey, man, what's up? Did Tram fail due to over trading? To be honest, just a buy and hold index would be fairly low risk and provide value to people. Well, I know traders that are higher frequency. I mean, they trade a lot and they do extremely well in any market. And I know traders that just buy and hold for a long time and do terrible, and some do great. You can also, this idea of you can just buy and hold and do great is true on paper, but in reality, what happens is people buy and then they don't hold. So, even an index will do well, meaning the index itself, right? Like if you had an index that just bought Bitcoin and DCA'd into it, the index will look amazing. But most people that invested in that index would probably lose money. And the reason is because they're going to get in and out. They're going to get in at the wrong time and out at the wrong time. And that's just the way it works. So I don't think it really had to do with over trading, in the sense that if the systems that were connected to trams or the people trading would have traded less, they would have done better. They still would have lost money, I think. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think that necessarily is the thing. The key, I think, what would have been better is if we had a more broader tram offering, more traders. Simple as that. But yes, your index, like an index fund, would look great on paper, though. That's for sure. Also, how can you not get a salary and you spend your time here answering the most ridiculous questions? Well, I do have a salary. So complete transparency, my salary, I think, gross is 1,200 euros a month. I receive about 976, I think, euros, something like that. And that is based on the minimum I need to maintain my visa in Estonia. There was a time, about out of the 7 years, I think for 2.5 years, roughly, I received a salary of between 4,000 and 5,000 euro net. But decided to get rid of that when we were fundraising and just have never reinstated it. And that doesn't make my life as easy as maybe it could be, but it keeps my eyes on the prize, so to speak. It definitely will benefit me when Coinmetro does well. And yeah, that's it. So I think, obviously I have shares and I have XCM, so you can't say I'm not compensated. And yeah, I do this. I want to see Coinmetro succeed, both for my own interests, obviously, and for the interests of everyone here, all of our shareholders, our clients, and to be honest, just the industry in general. I think the industry needs more Coinmetros, in the good ways, not the bad, not the soons, but in the good ways. Yeah, same here, man. Selling a house. I know a lot of people selling property right now, but yeah, that's my transaction. This stuff don't cycle, bro. Just fiat going to zero everywhere. Well, that's not necessarily true either. I know, obviously currencies are inflationary and blah, blah, and dollars lost 90% of its value. And, that's true. It's not that it isn't true, but the dollar losing its value doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin's worth more, or crypto in general. There's a lot of mechanics there that need to happen for that to happen. But again, on paper, that's correct. How's the USD Wise Bridge idea? Well, MW, still waiting on some intros, I guess, or information from MW side. I tried to get inroads via other ways. Sorry, I don't know why I thought that was like a joke for some reason. Why Waze meant like wise. Anyway, it's been a long day. But I haven't gotten any inroads. So yeah, waiting on MW. So if you're out there, MW, Telegram, man, hit me up. Are you following the World Liberty financial team here in the US and what they have plans and hopes to create, replace big banking? If thoughts. So I think you mean the thing that Trump mentioned, yeah. I went to their website, wasn't really a lot of information there. I get the gist, obviously, of what they're talking about doing. I don't really have a lot of information. So Debbie, if you do, I would definitely read through some of that stuff to see what they actually want to do. I don't like the name. I think it's a bit corny, to be honest. Now, if they can create world liberty, if it actually creates, liberty in world financial markets, that would be amazing. I don't like the name at all. But having said, it sounds, to put it another way, it sounds very scammy to me. I'm not saying it's a scam at all. Not what I'm saying, but it sounds scammy. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you Google that or a version of that, there's probably been a few scams with that name or similar to it. But no, I'd love to read up on it. I think it would be absolutely amazing if someone holding the power that the presidency of the US holds created a decentralized system, probably won't be decentralized to be honest, but that actually would be then adopted by some of the G20 or G7 I mean, I think this is almost impossible, at least in the current scope of the world, but it would be amazing, and I would absolutely support it. Close to Hyperdrome, there used to be a Skoda car dealership. Okay. Yeah. Well, those guys that own Skoda, by the way, Auto 100, I think they're called in Estonia, already own the rights to Lamborghini, Bentley, etc. They were selling Lamborghinis already in Estonia, close to the port. I know because I just would walk by there, bolt by there, whatever. It was there for years. So I guess they must be selling more Lambos. Good for them. Good for them. You see Polymarket growing like crazy when CM bets. Yeah, Polymarket's done amazing. I'm on the fence about betting markets. I think if done right, you can't. I mean, I don't know, the whole probably fair thing, and it's relatively corruptible. And I know theirs is automated, and they probably algorithms and blah blah blah. But still, I don't know. It is interesting though. I've definitely watched it. I go on there every now and again to see what the betting markets look like. I think it's great that it exists. I'm not sure I'd want to go down that road, but you never know. What's the new product that was hinted in October? Well, I'm not dropping that bomb, man. You'll find out. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. Just popping in and say hi. I'm proud with CM and super excited. Thank you, Alexander. I appreciate that. Saw you were buying some more XCM, so I thank you for that. That's amazing. Curious if you had any conversations with the team at Pair Protocol. I haven't, Debbie. If you think there's something interesting there, shoot that over to me as well, and I'm willing to have a conversation. How do you expect to achieve more revenue? What will change from now to the next 60 days? Well, the market we expect to change, which is one thing. Now, that doesn't mean we're sitting on our heels waiting for the market to change. But that is something we expect to happen. And you'll be surprised at how quickly the market changing can affect people's willingness to jump into a market. So it's kind of like those things you see on Twitter, et cetera, where it's like Bitcoin at, I don't know, 20K, no one's in the line. Bitcoin at 60K, everybody's lined up to buy some. There is 100% truth in that. And so that is something. The other side of that is, well, some of the things that we have planned coming in October is one of those things. And obviously advertising is one of those things, which will coincide with the push around this new release. And, we've never really, there's been times, ICO, we spent a bit of money on advertising. Aside from that, there's been one or two times where we were testing, we were trying things, and things happened where we couldn't continue. But we've never really done what we have planned now. There's a lot of planning going into it. There's a lot of personas being created, how we're going to market, who we're marketing to, who we're advertising to, the type of content we want to create for those audiences, influencers we're going to work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thoughts on KDA? I still think so. I'm going to say the same thing I always say because it really hasn't changed. Now, just to put a caveat on this, I haven't talked to the KDA team in quite some time. There's been a few back and forth with our team, but I haven't had a conversation. I think they made some changes that I really wish they would have made sooner in terms of some of the people working at the organization. So that's great. They did that a while back, but still, I still think it was a good move. The industry as a whole needs solutions to be presented for different problems that companies, people, the world have in terms of optimization of systems, in terms of the monetization of things, et cetera, et cetera. In order for, in my opinion, for a layer one to be successful, outside of hype, outside of, Google's testing something with us, or I don't know, it's being able to show why they are the best solution for one particular problem. Everybody wants to be the Swiss Army knife. But you don't need 50 Swiss Army knives. You can have one Swiss Army knife. Yeah. But Swiss Army knife doesn't fix everything. You're still going to have a screwdriver, I bet, of different sizes in your toolkit, right? Your toolbox. You're still probably going to have, I don't know, an X-Acto knife or something, right? You're going to have a hammer, right? You're not going to use that little stupid hammer, in your Swiss Army knife. Probably going to have some scissors, some real ones, so you can actually cut things, not the bullshit that's in the Swiss Army knife. You get my point. And everybody wants to be a Swiss Army knife. Not going to work. I think if Cadena really starts to focus on what they're good at and solve the problem that they can solve the best, I'm absolutely still as bullish. Kevy Levels has Benner. Okay. I'm going to read this like it should be, because then I'll be able to comprehend what I'm reading. Kevin, comma, levels have been released for a while now. It is working according. Is it working according to Kikaku? I don't know. The plan, I guess. And how many people reached level 7 or 8? I don't have that information in front of me. I know we had like 5 or 6 people, I think, at level 8 when we first released it. I don't know what it looks like right now. In many ways, yes, working according to plan. Probably still some things that need to be fixed or changed or optimized. I can't say that you can even see the full scope of what we wanted to do, because there's other releases that need to come. Mars is one of them, in order to get levels to its full potential. So is it according to plan 100%? No, because we haven't finalized other things. But I do believe it was a good release. I think it's well received for the most part. I think it is better than the previous system. And we've gotten some good feedback about it. So what's the best way to drop you some info? Telegram's good, Debbie, at Kevin Murcko, KevinMurcko. Make sure you send it to the right guy. If I respond to you always in text and never with a voice message, probably the wrong guy. So send it on Telegram is probably the best way. What is the plan regarding the Ignium integration? So Ignium integration, we have this plan about kind of governance. Ignium's a big part of that. I'm actually going to be touching on that internally over the next 2 or 3 weeks again, because we may see some optimizations to the plan based on things that have happened over the last few months, and also some of our goals that, I guess our broader goals have never changed, but some of those finite goals might have changed a little bit. And so Ignium's still going to end up being a part of Coinmetro. In what exact way and exactly the rollout, what it's going to look like, I can't give you specifics right now, because the initial idea was to have the billboard market be kind of the first integration, so that with this plan to have a governance token, we would have a place for it to be traded. That's probably still going to be more or less the first step towards integration, but the way we integrate may change, and the way we present that integration may change. So more information next AMA. You can always tag me on Telegram. I might not respond right away, but once I have some more information, I'll let you know. In terms of tech debt, is the team rebuilding the app from scratch? You mentioned fixing tech debt will solve everything. Hence, I assume there are definitely major pieces of our ecosystem that are being built from scratch, and others that, because they work and aren't burdensome, will remain, but still will be optimized. So yes, a lot of the tech debt is erased from building things from scratch, but not everything, I guess, is the best way to cover that. So I'm a minute late for a meeting. I just realized, because I was having so much fun with you guys. I have an investor meeting, so I'm going to go. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. If you haven't already, buy some XCM. Price is creeping up. We expect that to continue. Thanks for all the support over the years. Thanks for all the questions today. We're going to get there. We're going to get there, everybody. Thank you, Debbie, by the way. Send me that stuff via Telegram. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Wish me luck. Cheers.